So I think these are one of the biggest businesses machine learning will influence in the upcoming years, and maybe already is. So we will have a look at that. So let me first introduce myself. So I am Jasper. I currently live in Rotterdam. 20 years old, and like Jebit said, I work at the Do Good Only company right now. So if you have any questions or want to link up afterwards, you can go to my LinkedIn or check the code on my GitHub repository. Okay, so what we will talk about today is are a few different topics, and I divided them so that it makes sense for all of you. It's like at first, for example, what even is machine learning? Is it even useful if we have machine learning in our daily lives? And what is the use case of it? So next we'll be talking about why there is so much hype around machine learning. Because you've maybe heard the term artificial intelligence, machine learning, like a whole bunch of stuff like that, a lot of times right now. So we will go into that more. So to see what is machine learning, and also like how does it affect the medical world? So can some hospitals make use of it, or other medical industries like research or something? So we will also have a look into that. We will also give a few examples of that. And then also we will go a bit more into the travel sector. So for example, like let's say a random company like R&B. So how can they make use of machine learning to gain more profit and also to have a better user experience? And also we will be talking about what the future is of traveling using machine learning. So what cool tools or use cases we can use in the future, how we can travel ourselves. Okay, so let me first begin with what machine learning actually is. So what's great about machine learning instead of normal programming is with normal programming, you have to specify what you are going to look for. So for example, if I have a picture of a cat and a dog, let's say, we want to have a program that can identify for if a new picture comes in, if it is a cat or a dog. So this is like a simple example. So what we can do with programming is we can say, for example, okay, at this pixel or at this pixel, a pixel is a numerical value in a picture. We can say, if this is this or this is that, then we can say, okay, this is a dog or this might be a cat. But with machine learning, we don't need to specify it ourselves. So what we need to have with machine learning is a whole data set. So with a lot of cat and dog pictures, so the machine can actually learn itself. So basically the same way as the human brain works. So for example, if I want to learn a new skill, let's say, so for example, I want to play football, for example, at first I would not be able to even kick the ball, for example. But after repeatedly learning something, then I might be able to consistently kick the ball in the right direction. And that's also what's happening with machine learning. So it's actually in some way the same learning process as the human brain. So we're trying to recreate the brain as good as possible, basically, with machine learning, or at least a subdomain of machine learning. Not all algorithms work the same way. Okay, so I will give like a quick overview of what I said. So for example, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but so we have a data set.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So we have what we want to identify is, do we have a cat or do we have a dog? So like I said, we have a big data set of many cat and dog pictures. So what we then will do is we want to train our machine learning model. So let's say want to see what is a cat or what is a dog. So that's our training process. So it's going to learn to identify what is a cat or what is a dog. Once our model is trained, so training basically is like trying to kick the football many times over and over again until you're good at it. So that's the same way that the model is doing. So it's training, and until it's done with training, we can say, after it's done with training, we can say we want to predict on a new picture of a cat or a dog. So we can give a new picture. Let's say we have a cat, And now our model is going to say, okay, by using the prediction, this is a cat or this is a dog. So now we can give an output for, okay, this is a cat or this is a dog. And what is a problem for most of the companies nowadays is actually not the training process or the prediction process. So these are also like really sophisticated algorithms, but that's not the problem for the big companies nowadays. For a lot of companies, the actual problem is getting this correct data. So how can we collect these nice cat and dog pictures? And this is the hard part for most businesses. So that's also something to watch out for, maybe if you are starting a business or if you work somewhere, to start collecting data immediately. So in the future, you can actually build these cool models where you can do really cool and sophisticated stuff with. Okay, so why is there so much hype around it? So we now know what it is, and it's really cool that it can identify a cat or a dog. Okay, we get that. So why is it so popular nowadays? So it actually goes way deeper than only identifying cats and dogs. So for example, there is a game called Go. It's a really popular Chinese game. It's really complicated to play, and there are like, I don't know how much billion of possibilities there are to play the game. So making an algorithm or a machine learning algorithm which can actually beat the best human player in the world. So this was a huge achievement because now it doesn't only identify a cat or a dog, but actually can beat a human at a really complex game. The best player actually. So it's like surpassing human capabilities already. So that's why it's really cool to observe machine learning and what it does. So there's a lot of potential in machine learning because it can outperform humans. Same for example, the stock market. There are a lot of people who made millions or maybe even billions by using machine learning to analyze the stock market, or even automatic trading on the stock market by using machine learning. So there's a lot of capabilities on the stock market as well for machine learning. So I will give one more example, and that's, for example, if we have when you can say, hey Google, right? So you all have a mobile phone, I guess. And then if you can say, hey Siri or hey Google, that voice recognition, that's also done with machine learning. So you're actually already using machine learning way more often than you actually think you are. So in your phone there, I don't know if you have like a new smartphone, but these new smartphones are built in with facial recognition, for example. This is also done by using machine learning and many more use cases. So it's really powerful nowadays. So like I said, it surpasses the human capability, and that's why it's so popular nowadays. So is machine learning useful in the medical sectors? So I think one of the main purposes, no, not the main purpose, one of the main points what machine learning can really make a big influence, and what's also really effective for society and just humans in general, is that it also comes with research from medical environments. So what it does is, for example, we can, a lot of, for example, doctors or something, the use cases, for example, can also be automated by using machine learning. And this can also affect the cost way more effective. So they have to spend, hospitals have to spend way less money on just employees for that stuff. So now we can focus on they can just focus on getting more knowledge about really sophisticated tasks which machine learning are not yet able to do. So maybe in the future, they might be able to do it or might not, we don't know. Possibly they will. So that's also really cool. And with machine learning, so let's say we have, like you have proteins, right? So for example, a virus consists out of proteins. So now I'm going like a bit more in the healthcare direction. So it consists of a lot of proteins. So machine learning algorithms can actually use these proteins to find new antiviruses, for example. So we can actually use machine learning to make like protein construction. So they can generate their own proteins and like also analyze the proteins for like what's inside of this protein and what parts can be dangerous for our human being. So all different kind of stuff like that. So that's also a big point where machine learning can really help our human capabilities. So one of the use cases, which we will likely see in the near future, is, for example, X-ray scans. So when you have, for example, a broken bone, or you have like a lung infection and you have an X-ray scan, then machine learning will be able to see what you have. So, for example, if you have a broken bone, or if there's something wrong with your lungs, or all different kind of stuff like that with X-ray. So, machine learning is actually already surpassing this, surpassing the humans in this area. So, like, there's a specialist who has trained, for example, 10 years to try to observe all different kinds of X-ray scans, but there are already machine learning algorithms who can just surpass that whole study. So in like a few days of times of training for this machine learning algorithm, it can actually already surpass a human being who's trained to do this for like 10 years or something. So that's actually mind-blowing to see how machine learning can already surpass the human being like so quick and so fast. That's really cool for me. Also, the same thing with the MRI scan. So let's say you have there's something wrong with your blood vessels or with your human brain, and it has data, so it knows what can happen, what's the case of this. So that machine learning is also able to identify what is wrong and where is the location that something is wrong. And that might take humans like, I don't know, like maybe 10 years of study to also observe what's happening with the MRI scans. And that's really mind blowing just to see how quickly it just surpasses the human beings. And I think this will be one of the near future cases of machine learning. Just one more example in the medical world is, for example, this is more currently happening. It's like the corona. So I think you all are somewhat familiar with corona now. So it is able, for example, with machine learning, if all the data is stored correct and there are no mistakes within the data, then machine learning is able to predict where the next breakout can be. So for example, we have here a map of all the different kinds of breakouts we have, and then machine learning is, for example, able to say, okay, the likelihood of this area infected the upcoming week is likely this and this percentage. So then we can actually already take measurements before it is happening. So then we just don't have to we still have to wear a mask, of course, but we can like be so much more specific about what area is going to be targeted next and what will be the influence of that by just using machine learning and predict what's going on in the future. And like I said before, so for example, if you have those protein connections, we can actually see it from corona as well, and also what weaknesses it has, and maybe even try to find antiviruses for it by all using machine learning. So, for example, one other way to possibly fight corona, so to say, is let's say every person is medically registered. Like, for example, this person has this illness and has asthma, for example, and has also some other illness. So that's all stored in one big database. And also with the COVID effects, okay, this person is really affected a lot by COVID, and this person only has like a really small fever. So then we can see, for example, okay, now we can make correlations out of it. So for example, we can say now, okay, this person is really likely to become really sick of this virus, or this person might not be able, or this person won't be affected that much by corona. And that's also something really powerful we can do. So we can already see beforehand what's going to happen within a person, but also how locations will be affected. So that's really cool. And if there are questions about any of this, by the way, just leave them in the chat or ask them afterwards. That's no big deal. Now we go on to the travel sector. So how can machine learning actually influence the travel sector? because we already have planes and cars and trains, like everything. We already have everything to like go everywhere really quickly. So what can AI? How can it help with that? So for example, we still need to drive our car, and that's something we don't want to do always because we are lazy people and we make a lot of mistakes. What if we can make a self-driving car which actually don't crashes as often as humans do? That would be really nice because now a lot of people will be saved for their life because there are a lot of accidents in traffic. So if that's going to be our next thing, it will be really nice. Maybe even self-flying aircraft, so we don't need to pay those high salary uh, pilots, for example. But something like that. So we can automate a lot of stuff using machine learning. And it's not that I'm trying to just make sure no one has a job or something like that. It's just only giving the possibilities. Okay, this might be happening in the future, and it's probably realistic to say that this also might happen in the future. So for like traveling companies, so like I said before, R&B, what they can do is also try to get more revenue out of their company. So what they can do, for example, is they can use AI to do that, like recommendation systems to see, okay, I want to have, just let's say you have a Facebook or an Instagram page. And when you're scrolling on Instagram or on Facebook, you see a lot of these ads. But most of the time, these ads are really specific for your purposes. So, for example, if you're a gamer, a 50-year-old guy who games a lot, they probably get a lot of ads for gaming and not like a lot of ads for gardening tools or something like that. So that also makes the user experience way better and also causes more revenue for a company like R&B. So for example, I go to the website, I want to go to this new cool location, but I see, for example, I want to really travel to Bali, but then I get all these kind of ads of Iceland and like people, how do you say that? Like America, but I really want to go to Asia, and you get all the wrong ads. So you're not more likely to buy something instead of giving all this kind of ads for Asia, because I really want to travel to Asia, for example. So this also can help a company really much. And something that I've personally found really cool is, so we have talked about self-driving cars and self-driving airplanes. But what I found really cool is that with artificial intelligence, they are also able to find the most optimal form for a drone or an airplane, so it's the most efficient as possible and most aerodynamic as possible, so it can just not lose a lot of energy. And this is all done also by using generative AI. Oh, I can hear myself really loudly. So that's also really cool. So they actually, with Airbus, they actually generated the structure of this airplane. So it all could be 3D printed, and it's like the most efficient form to make the structure as strong as possible. And that's what really got my interest, because now AI can also generate vehicles which we didn't even know about, and that's like really mind-blowing to me, because it also can invent some stuff in some way. So like, let's say we want to go have this scientist who's really cool and try to figure out what is the best airplane, but if he just feeds all his data into this model, then it come up with the most brilliant form of airplanes or drones, and that's just really mind-blowing. If you want to have a look at it, I have a link over here. If you have, you can ask me to send the link to you if you want to. Oh. So yeah, that really stood out to me. So my last thing is, are there any questions left? Because I think there's a lot covered today. So I'm curious if there are any questions about any of these topics.
Hi, Jasper. I have a question for you.
Yes, of course.
Were you able, while you were doing some of your research, what do you think some of the a lot of this is around the equipment and the equipment that's in these industries, right? Airplanes, machines, the diagnostics, and everything else. Where are you able to spot any trends where the AI and the machine learning is being applied to the people side of both of these industries? Because I'm curious to know if your research turned up anything there.
Yeah, so like this presentation was more about the healthcare and the travel sector, but you're right in that aspect. So I'm not sure which program followed up, but I noticed there was a program, I'm not sure how it's called, but they were actually experimenting with like psychiatric AI, so to say. So they actually asked these questions to humans to really help them from their problems and asking the right question for the right person. So that kind of stuff. So there's also been work on in that field. Yeah, definitely. But I'm not sure how it's called.
Because there's like all kinds of things like, facial recognition, traveling through airports, all of the security screening, stuff like that. So I was just curious if you had discovered anything cool there, but thank you.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, so, oh, wait. So if there are no questions and maybe you come up with a question later, or are there any questions left? So, no? Okay, so if you have you come up with any questions or something, you can send your questions to me by LinkedIn or, just send it to me by LinkedIn or just ask them in the chat. And if you want to learn more about this topic, like machine learning and data science, we will start a course in August at the Skills Up Lab. So you can you can follow this link to get more information of that course. Oh, so that was it for today. If there are no questions left.
Thank you, Jasper.
Yes.
And thank you everyone for joining today's session. If you want to attend more, then you can become a member of our Meetup group so you don't miss out. I hope you enjoy your weekend and see you later. Thank you, Jasper.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jasper.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.